Have you ever stood at the foot of a mountain, looking up at its impossible height, and felt your spirit shrink just a little? We're taught to admire the summit, to keep our eyes fixed on the grand achievement, the transformative breakthrough, the moment of arrival that will finally make everything different. But what if we've been looking at the wrong thing? What if the most profound transformation doesn't happen in one spectacular, seismic event? What if it happens quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the accumulation of tiny, seemingly insignificant moments? I want to talk about the quiet power of small wins. We often dismiss them, finishing a single page, taking a 10-minute walk, clearing a corner of a cluttered desk. We do these things and think, is this all? This is nothing. We crave the explosion, and we overlook the kindling, but a small win is not nothing. A small win is a vote. It is a vote you cast for a new version of yourself. Every time you choose the healthier snack, you are not just eating a piece of fruit, you are casting a vote for a person who cares for their body. Every time you write that one paragraph, you are not just filling a page, you are casting a vote for a person who is a writer. Every time you respond with patience instead of irritation, you are casting a vote for a person of peace. These votes add up, and one day you look up and realize the election is over. You have, through 1,000 tiny, consistent choices, elected a new you. Small wins are the architecture of belief. They build a track record for your own eyes only. They are the quiet, internal proof that you can trust yourself, that you can follow through, that you are, in fact, capable of change. We are culturally conditioned to a narrative of monumental change. We are captivated by the stories of overnight success, the dramatic turnaround, the single moment of insight that shatters an old reality and instantly creates a new one. This fixation on the summit, the finished masterpiece, the grand finale, causes us to fundamentally misunderstand the true nature of transformation. We stand at the base of our personal mountains, gazing upward at the distant peak, and we become overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the journey. The distance between where we are and where we want to be seems so vast that the very thought of beginning feels futile. This is because we are looking for transformation in the wrong place. We are waiting for the earthquake, the volcanic eruption that will reshape our landscape in an instant. But the most profound and enduring shifts in nature are rarely so violent. A canyon is carved not by a single cataclysm, but by the persistent, gentle flow of a river over millennia. A forest grows not in a day, but through the slow, steady accumulation of life, one leaf and one ring of growth at a time. Human transformation follows this same quieter law. The big shift, the visible, measurable change that others can see, is not the transformation itself. It is merely the final result becoming legible to the outside world. The actual transformation happens in the dark, in the soil of our daily habits. It is the sum total of countless minor adjustments. It is the decision to wake up 10 minutes earlier, not just once, but 100 times. It is the choice to save a small amount of money, to practice a scale on an instrument, to respond with a deep breath instead of a sharp retort. Individually, each of these acts seems trivial, almost laughably insignificant when held against the grandeur of our ultimate goal. We are tempted to dismiss them, to think, this one small thing doesn't matter. But this is the critical error. It is in this dismissal that we lose the very mechanism of change. Each small win is a brick. Alone, it is just a clay rectangle. But when laid with consistency alongside hundreds, then thousands of others, it ceases to be a pile of bricks and becomes a fortress. The completion of the fortress is the big shift, but the transformation from loose pile to impenetrable structure happened in the laying of each individual brick. The power of this process is that it makes the impossible possible. You cannot, through a single act of will, become a fluent speaker of a new language, but you can, through the small, daily win of learning 5 new words, absolutely achieve fluency over time. You cannot suddenly morph into a person of immense physical health, but you can consistently take the small win of a daily walk. By shifting our focus from the intimidating summit to the very next step, we bypass the paralysis of perfection and the fear of the giant leap. We engage with change on a scale that is manageable, sustainable, and psychologically non-threatening. The small win is the unit of measurement for a life of quiet, powerful, and lasting transformation. It is the humble, unsung hero of every great story of growth. Every small, positive action you take is far more than a checked box on a to-do list. It is a quiet but powerful declaration of identity. When you complete a minor task that aligns with a larger goal, you are not merely accomplishing a thing, you are casting a vote for the person you aspire to become. This is the profound, often overlooked, psychological power of the small win. The brain does not distinguish between a massive, public declaration of intent and a private, seemingly insignificant act. Both are data points it uses to answer the fundamental question, who am I? Each time you choose the salad over the fast food, you are not just eating a meal. You are providing your subconscious with evidence that you are a person who values your health. The action itself is a ballot, and it is cast for the healthy me. When you resist the urge to scroll through social media and instead write a single paragraph, you are not just producing text. You are collecting proof that you are a disciplined and creative person. You are voting for the writer me. These votes carry no fanfare. There is no applause for making your bed or for organizing a single drawer. But in the silent polling booth of your mind, a tally is being kept. Initially, the old identity, the person who doesn't exercise, the chronic procrastinator, may still be winning, but with each small win, the margin narrows. One vote for the new self does not change the outcome, but a consistent string of them creates an undeniable mandate for change. This process moves you from abstract aspiration to embodied identity. You stop trying to be a runner, and you start being a runner because you have the data to prove it. You ran 3 times this week. You stop wishing you were more organized, and you start being an organized person because you have the evidence. Your kitchen is clean. Your bills are filed. The small win bypasses the need for monumental willpower because it operates on a different principle, identity reinforcement. You are not forcing yourself to do something a disorganized person would hate. You are simply acting in alignment with who you now understand yourself to be. The action flows from the identity that the previous small wins have carefully constructed. This is why the accumulation of these tiny victories is so crucial. They are not just steps toward a goal. They are the raw materials used to build a new self-concept. 1 vote means little, but 1,000 votes is a landslide victory. One day, you will realize that the election is over. The old version of you has been peacefully, gradually, and democratically voted out of office. A new you is in charge, not because of one dramatic moment, but because of a long, consistent campaign fought and won in the small, daily battles of your life. The journey of transformation is often undermined not by a lack of ambition, but by a deficit of self-trust. We set grand goals, but a hidden, cynical voice within us whispers that we are not the kind of person who can achieve them. We have a history of abandoned gym memberships, half-finished projects, and broken resolutions. This history forms a narrative of unreliability that we tell ourselves, a story that we cannot be counted on to follow through. This is where the quiet, unglamorous power of the small win performs its most vital work. It builds self-belief from the inside out. A small win is a promise you make to yourself, and more importantly, a promise you keep. It is a contract of integrity signed in the private moments of your day, with no audience but your own conscience. When you commit to reading 10 pages a night and you do it, you are not just gaining knowledge. You are providing yourself with concrete evidence that your word to yourself has value. When you decide to walk for 15 minutes and you follow through, you are not just improving your circulation. You are depositing a tiny but solid brick of self-trust into the foundation of your character. These acts are the private, internal proof that you are capable of consistency. They are the data points that slowly, irrevocably overwrite the old story of being a person who quits. You are no longer relying on motivational speeches or external pressure. You are building a track record for your own eyes only. This internally generated evidence is infinitely more powerful than any external validation. Someone else telling you that you are capable is a theory. You proving it to yourself through action is an undeniable fact. Each completed small win is a verdict in your own favor, handed down by the most important judge you will ever face, yourself. This accumulating body of evidence creates what can be called credibility with the self. You begin to trust your own decisions. When you set an intention, even a small one, a new, quiet confidence emerges because you have a recent history of honoring your commitments. This credibility is the bedrock upon which larger risks are taken. You can dare to apply for the promotion, start the business, or have the difficult conversation because you have built a foundational belief that you are someone who sees things through. You have become a reliable partner to yourself. This process transforms the nature of willpower. It is no longer a finite resource you must painfully muster, but a natural outgrowth of your self-image as a competent and reliable individual. The action is no longer a struggle against your nature. It is an expression of it. The small win, therefore, is not just a step toward a goal. It is the essential, repetitive practice of building the most important relationship you will ever have, the relationship with your own capable, trustworthy self. We often fall into the trap of believing that the grand, visible outcome is the transformation itself. We see the published author and imagine a singular moment of triumph. We observe the person who has lost a significant amount of weight and envision a dramatic turning point. This external focus causes us to misunderstand the entire process. The big shift, the finished manuscript, the transformed body, the successful business, is not the change. It is merely the final result becoming visible, the harvest after a long season of silent cultivation. The actual, meaningful transformation occurred invisibly in the thousands of small, private choices that constituted the journey. The author was transformed not when they held the printed book, but on all those mornings when they chose to write one page before the world was awake. In that daily, disciplined act, they were forging the identity of a writer, building the resilience to face rejection, and honing their craft in a way that no single burst of inspiration ever could. The person who achieved physical health was transformed not on the day they reached their goal weight, but on the countless evenings they chose a walk over the couch, a home, cooked meal over takeout. In those moments, they were not just burning calories, they were rewiring their relationship with food, building physical endurance cell by cell, and cultivating the self-respect that comes from consistent self-care. The big shift is the destination finally appearing on the horizon after a long voyage. But the transformation was the sailing itself, the daily navigation, the mending of sails in the wind, the adjustment to currents, the resilience built through enduring storms. To focus only on the destination is to miss the entire point of the journey, for it is the journey that changes the sailor. This understanding is liberating. It releases us from the anxiety of not seeing immediate, large-scale results. It invites us to find satisfaction and meaning in the process itself, in the quiet dignity of showing up for the small, uncelebrated work. When we shift our focus from the spectacular finale to the quality of our daily practice, we engage with change in a sustainable way. We stop asking, "Am I there yet?" and start asking, "Am I engaged in the right process?" This process-oriented mindset is what makes lasting change possible. It recognizes that the visible outcome is simply the logical and inevitable byproduct of 1,000 correct, small actions. The masterpiece is not created in a frenzy of last-minute effort. It is revealed slowly, as the accumulation of 10,000 careful brushstrokes finally coheres into a singular, breathtaking image. The big shift, therefore, is not a goal to be achieved, but a symptom to be observed. It is the external signal that an internal metamorphosis is complete. The real work, the true transformation, was always happening in the humble, powerful territory of the small win. The most formidable force in any process of change is not a single heroic act of will, but the quiet, cumulative power of momentum. We often believe that major life changes require Herculean effort, a massive exertion that propels us from a state of stagnation directly into a state of success. This belief is not only intimidating, but it is also physiologically and psychologically incorrect. Lasting change operates on a different principle entirely, the principle of consistent, small actions that build upon one another to create an unstoppable forward motion. A small win is the fundamental unit of this momentum. It is the initial, gentle push that breaks the inertia of inaction. An object at rest, whether a physical body or a habitual mind, possesses a powerful tendency to remain at rest. The first step is always the most difficult because it must overcome this inherent resistance. However, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. This is as true for a rolling stone as it is for a human being engaged in a new practice. When you achieve a small win, when you complete that first 5-minute walk, write that first paragraph, or organize that first drawer, you have done more than just complete a task. You have created a microscopic crack in the wall of resistance. You have shifted your identity from someone who is thinking about change to someone who has taken action. This initial motion, however slight, makes the next action easier. The psychological barrier has been breached. The second small win is then slightly less difficult than the first, not because the task itself is easier, but because you now have a tiny reference point for success. You have a nascent track record. You can say to yourself, I did it yesterday, I can likely do it today. This creates a positive feedback loop. Each completed action reinforces the behavior, making it more automatic and less dependent on fluctuating willpower. The effort required decreases as the behavior becomes more habitual. What began as a conscious struggle gradually transforms into a subconscious default. This is the essence of momentum, a self-reinforcing cycle where action fuels the capacity for further action. This growing momentum is what makes the process sustainable. Relying on a single, massive effort is like trying to leap a chasm in one bound. It is a high-risk, all-or-nothing strategy that often ends in a crash. But building momentum through small wins is like constructing a bridge across that same chasm, one solid plank at a time. Each plank is a small win, and with each one you lay, you move further from your starting point and closer to your goal, with a stable and reliable path forming beneath your feet. This momentum eventually becomes a powerful current that can carry you through periods of low motivation or unexpected obstacles. It rewrites your personal narrative from a story of sporadic effort and frequent failure to one of consistent progress and growing capability. The small win, therefore, is not an end in itself. It is the critical spark that ignites a chain reaction, transforming daunting transformation into a manageable, self-perpetuating journey forward.